Welcome back. We were dealing with the pH scale. So pH is minus log H plus. Then pOH is minus log OH minus. So look here, pOH is minus log concentration of protons. And you see here, pH is 0, corresponding pOH is 14. Look here, pH is 14, corresponding pOH is 0. Look at any value, their sum total is equal to 14. See, pH is 7, pOH is 7. Or pH is 3, pOH is 11. So at any moment, the sum of pH and pOH is equal to 14. Make a note of it. Or we may say, product of concentration of protons and hydroxyl ions is equal to 10 raised to minus 14 at any moment. Okay. These are a few illustrative problems. You try to work out. Question is given here, method of calculation and answer all are given here. It will improve your knowledge and understanding on this topic. The value of 7 for the pH of a precisely neutral solution is not an arbitrarily chosen figure. It is not a conveniently chosen figure. It is derived from the calculations. Okay. And solutions having a pH greater than 7 are said to be alkaline or basic. The concentration of OH minus is greater than that of protons. And just like that, the solutions having a pH less than 7 are said to be acidic in nature. Remember, pH scale is a logarithm scale and not arithmetic. So when we say that two solutions differ in pH by 1 pH unit, means that one solution has 10 times the concentration of protons compared with the other. And we don't know anything about the absolute magnitude of the difference. You see, if the concentration of protons in one solution is A, then if the two solutions differ by 1 pH unit, it means the other has a concentration of protons which is equal to either 10A or A by 10. Okay, we don't know the absolute value. And how do we measure the pH of a solution? We can use a set of coloring solutions, dyes, litmus, etc. You might have used phenolphthalein and methyl orange in your higher secondary classes for titration experiments. Actually, you are titrating an acidic solution with a basic solution, and you are calculating the endpoint by looking at the pH change. You might have used both phenolphthalein and methyl orange. And phenol red is another indicator solution. By the color change of the solution, we can find out whether it is acidic or basic. But by that method, we cannot exactly calculate the pH. For that, we can use a pH meter. pH meter is there in our laboratory. I will show you how is it being used. And in another class, we have to study the functioning of a pH meter as well. Okay. Measurement of pH is of utmost importance. Why? pH is affecting practically all the biochemical activities in the body. It affects the structure and activity of all biological macromolecules. It may be enzymes, it may be nucleic acids, it may be proteins, etc. And pH of the blood plasma of people with severe uncontrolled diabetes is often below 7.4. You know that 7.4 is the normal value of pH of the blood. And because of the acidic substances in the blood, pH is decreasing below the normal. We say the situation is acidosis. This diabetes is just one example. Like that, there may be several examples by which, pH is affecting, or changes in the pH is affecting normal functioning of the body. Of course, when the pH is more than normal, we call it alkalosis. And what's an acid? An acid is a donor of protons. And we say acid has a strength. Some of the acids are weak acids, some of the acids are uh, strong acids. The strength of an acid or the strength of a base depends upon the nature of the solvent as well. A weak acid ionizes only slightly. For example, organic acids, citric acid, tartaric acid, like that. Organic acids are actually weak acids, acetic acids, etc. A strong acid is the one which ionizes almost completely. For example, all the mineral acids, you might have heard of nitric acid, sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid. All these are the mineral acids and they are said to be strong acids because they ionizes almost completely in water. You see, we express this with the background of water because water is the solvent in our studies. So in water, the strong acids ionizes almost completely, so it is a strong acid. When the acid ionizes only weakly, it is said to be weak acid in water. And a base is a proton acceptor. Weak bases are the ones which ionizes incompletely in aqueous solution, water. We say aqueous solution because our solvent is water in biochemistry mostly. And a strong base is the one which ionizes completely. There is something called a conjugate acid base system. This is acetic acid. Acetic acid in water ionizes to produce protons and acetate ions. This ion is called acetate. ACETATE. Acetate ions. We say acetate. You see here there is a negative charge. That means this is an anion. Okay. This acetate is the conjugate base of acetic acid. What's a base? A base is an acceptor of protons. You look at the reverse reaction. This acetate ion accepts protons and becomes acetic acid. So we say acetate is the conjugate base of acetic acid. So a conjugate acid base system consists of a proton donor, in this case acetic acid, and its corresponding proton acceptor. This proton acceptor is acetate. Okay. Each acid has a characteristic tendency to lose its protons in aqueous solution. The stronger the acid, the greater the tendency to lose protons. And we say the strength of the acid increases. What's the equation? Just as the previous case, equilibrium constant K is equal to product of concentration of products divided by product of concentration of reactants. This is the basic equation. HA. H is actually hydrogen, A is acid. So remember, any acid is a donor of protons. This acid also is donating H plus, and this A minus is the conjugate base. Equilibrium constant is equal to product of concentration of products divided by the product of concentration of reactants. It is also called a Ka. It's also called a Ka, acid dissociation constant. Acid dissociation constant. Ka. And what is pKa? You see, pH was minus log H plus. pOH was minus log OH minus. Similarly, pK is minus log Ka, or log 1 by Ka is equal to minus log Ka. This pKa is a very important value in our calculations. We will see it. You see, strong acid have a large dissociation constant, while weak acid has smaller dissociation constant. I told you earlier that that organic acids are weak acids. Then why do you write here phosphoric acid, carbonic acid, etc. are stronger compared with some weak acids? These are stronger compared with some weaker acids. So compared with the monohydrogen phosphate HPFO 2 minus, these are stronger. And as the strength increases, dissociation constant Ka increases. Dissociation constant Ka increases. And as the dissociation constant Ka increases, what happens to pKa? pKa decreases. So The stronger the tendency to dissociate a proton, stronger is the acid and lower is its pKa. Make a note of it, keep it in your mind. As the strength of the acid increases, its pKa value decreases. Here are some acids. pKa is for monoprotic acid, acetic acid, pKa is 4.76. For another acid, it is 3.77. Can you compare and tell me which is stronger? Which is stronger? Simply by comparing pKa, can you tell me which is stronger, 3.77 or 4.76? This one is stronger. Why? This has a lower pKa than this one. Like that you compare HCO3 minus 10.2 is pKa. Here glycine etc. Glycine is an amino acid actually. Its pKa is even lower, 2.34. It is stronger actually. And even more stronger than this is the phosphoric acid, dihydrogen phosphate etc. Why? Its pKa is 2.14. So by comparing the pKa values, we can estimate, calculate, identify the strength of the acid. You see, as the protons are being lost, strength of the acid decreases. Why? pKa increases. This is phosphoric acid. It lost one proton, became dihydrogen phosphate. Again, and it has a higher pKa and lower strength. It again lost one more proton, became monohydrogen phosphate, and again the pKa is further increased to 12.4. That means strength of the acid further decreases. Strength decreases means its tendency to lose a proton decreases. And titration curve. By a titration curve, we can identify the pKa value of weak acids. What is titration? In your lower classes, you have done titration. You might have taken acid in a vessel, you might have taken base in another vessel. Which one of them is taken in a conical flask and which one is taken in a burette? Did you remember? And one is added dropwise to the other. That is what is called titration until we reach the end point. What was the end point for phenolphthalein? The pink color disappeared. So we find out the neutral pH. Okay, and we have the values. How many ml of the acid or the base was added? We have the values, and we make a graph, a plot of the pH against amount of the alkali added or the base added. That graph is called titration curve. We calculate how many ml of the base is taken, how many ml of the acid is added. For each addition, we write down the values. Finally, we plot a graph, and that graph is called titration curve. And from the titration curve, we can identify the pKa of the acid. Remember, we are talking about the weak acid. And here, this is actually a titration curve. What is this? Look at the graph first. On the vertical axis is given the pH. See here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. up to 9. In the system, how do we measure the pH? The best way to measure a pH, measure the pH of a solution is using a pH meter. When you come to the classes, I will show you the actual work. We will do it in the lab. It is not there in the practical syllabus, but still we will do it in the lab. It will help us a lot to study the concept. So we using a pH meter, we measure the pH. And we add base, which means in the conical flask, or we say in the beaker, we use a beaker. In the beaker, we are taking the acid. Into that acid, we add alkali. You see, alkali added equivalent, say 0.1 ml, 0.2 ml, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, like that we are adding the alkali. Before adding any alkali, we measure the pH, we note down the value. Then we added 0.1 ml and we measured the pH here. Then we added 0.2 ml, we measure the pH, we added 0.3 ml, like that. After adding every fraction of the base, we measure the pH and we draw the pH and that plot. Once the addition is completed, what we do? We join the dots and we get such a graph. Actually, this is acetic acid versus sodium acetate. This is acetic acid, no, I mean acetic acid versus sodium hydroxide. What is formed is sodium acetate in this medium. Titration curve of acetic acid after addition of each increment of NaOH. Increment means maybe 1 ml, maybe 0.1 ml, like that. That we will decide when we are doing the experiment. The pH of the mixture is measured and we get such values and we join them together. Now, this is the equation. H2O dissociates into H plus and OH minus. And acetic acid dissociates into protons and acetate. And what about the equilibrium constant? Kw, we have the equilibrium constant, and for the acetic acid Ka, we have the equilibrium constant. And we know all those things in advance. Come to the graph. This graph has a particular shape. Initially, as we are adding the alkali, the pH is increasing suddenly. You see, by the time we added 0.1 ml, the pH increased suddenly. Thereafter, we added 0.1 ml, then 0.1 ml, then 0.1 ml. Accordingly, the pH is not increasing as per the previous rate. Instead, the rate of increase is slightly decreasing, and here it becomes somewhat horizontal, which means upon the addition of each fraction of the alkali, the increase in pH is only slight. The increase in pH is only slight upon the addition of each fraction of the alkali. And after passing a certain pH range, addition of 0.1 ml or 0.1 fraction of this alkali results in a sudden increase in pH, just as the initial case. Just as the initial case. So here you can see a somewhat flat region. A somewhat flat region is there. In this flat region, this mixture, acetic acid, sodium hydroxide mixture, can act as a buffer system. What's a buffer? A buffer is a medium, a system of reagents which can resist change in pH upon the addition of acid or alkali into it. And what is pKa? pKa is the midpoint of the titration curve. Here 0 to 1 is the range of addition of the alkali, and what is the half point is 50%. We can say when we added this much of the base, the acid present in it is 50% titrated or half titrated. The corresponding value of pH is used for the calculation of pKa. What is pKa? pKa is equal to minus log Ka. pKa is equal to minus log Ka. And at this pKa, what is the pH? That pH is noted down. In this case, the pH is 4.76. So make a note of the buffering region. In this buffering region, even though we are adding the same increment of the alkali, increase in pH or change in pH is very, very slight. So within this region, pH region, this mixture is said to be a buffer. We are going to see buffer system in detail later. And what happens there? As NaOH is introduced, it is adding OH minus ions. This OH minus ion is reacting with the protons and becomes H2O. And as the protons are removed from the solution, more of the acid is dissociating. Come here, this acetic acid is a weak acid compared with mineral acids, etc. That means it was not 100% dissociated. As we are adding alkali into it, alkali is providing OH minus, and you might have heard of common ion effect, etc. in the lower classes. These protons combined with this water, forming water. I mean, hydroxyl ions combined with the protons forming water. So protons are removed, and remember Le Chatelier principle. When this is in equilibrium, there is a certain amount of protons, and this proton is now removed for the formation of water. You know what happens as per Le Chatelier principle? The reaction which is producing the proton will increase. That means more of the acid is dissociating. Now more of the acid is dissociating, and we are adding alkali. Here we are adding alkali drop by drop. Alkali is providing more and more hydroxyl ions. This hydroxyl ion is again and again removing the protons being released. That's why at the end there is 100% titration. That's the mechanism of buffer action actually. That is what is mentioned here also. This is the titration curve of a few more acids. We'll come to this slide later.